So anyway, the state tree of New York State is the sugar maple. And so I wanted to show you kind of a somewhat typical New York forest here. I'm up in the Catskills, just outside the town of Woodstock. And I'm going to show you what a typical New York forest kind of looks like. And then I'm going to climb one of the sugar maples here. This guy right here, I think. Kind of right at the base of a pretty steep hill. I'm going to head up this guy and get a view from the canopy of what the forest looks like here. Wow, what a forest. Wow. So we are we're in a sugar maple, the state tree of New York. And we got some paper birch next to us, some sweet birch or black birch, and then this big tree back here with a hollow cavity, which is great for critters, is a big-tooth aspen. So I got another big-tooth aspen right here. And I had to get a good look because down on the river about 5 miles back the road, I saw some cottonwoods. And so those trees can sometimes they can look like each other, cottonwood and big-tooth aspen. A whole lot of red oak in this particular forest, which is interesting because where I was earlier today with my wife hiking, we were up on what's called Indian Head, which is like due north of Woodstock, New York, maybe 10 miles as the crow flies, and almost no oaks. We went up there, we were about 3,500 feet above sea level, and we got so high up there that like the whole forest composition started to change. There still were some sugar maples, but I couldn't find any near the top that I felt like climbing. So I carried all my gear, still had a great climb and experienced the forest, but didn't find anything up there I wanted to climb. We're at the we're on the outskirts of Woodstock, New York, and I thought that this would be a fun place to showcase the state of New York state tree for a lot of reasons, but certainly the musical connection. So woke up this morning and my wife and I made a trip to Big Pink, the house in just a few miles north of Woodstock. Is it Saugerties? Am I saying that right? I hope. And that's where the band and Bob Dylan lived in, I'm going to say about 68, 69. And they it's this real humble house, just a really cool house, like a lot of folks grew up in. It's not some mansion. And they recorded and wrote some just incredible songs. Maybe some of my all-time favorite Dylan songs were created there in what's called Big Pink. So You Ain't Going Nowhere, The Mighty Quinn, $1 Million Bash, and it's still not clear to this day if Dylan ever even wanted any of those recordings released. But what started happening is bootleg recordings from jam sessions in the basement of the house started getting leaked out. And finally, around 1975 or 76, Columbia Records finally said, well, you know what, we ought to officially release these things and make some money off it because they're just being traded illegally. And so the bootleg sessions, or the bootleg tapes as the album is known today, is a Columbia Records release. And it's mostly stuff that was recorded up here in New York, but some of it was recorded in a studio and later added to try and fill in the album. But anyway, musically, this is a magical place, and I thought it'd be a cool place to showcase the state of New York. There's so much incredible heritage in New York State. It was hard to pick a place, but I just thought, let's showcase the music and artistic legacy. And we've been so impressed with the artistic kind of theme to the entire area. We spent the weekend here in Woodstock, and so we're driving to a town. Where in the world did we just have lunch? Well, I guess this trail. This is called is it I want to say Phoenicia. That's not right. So forgive me. I'll type it up and I'll make sure it's written correctly in the description in my blog. But went into this little town, and we were on our way back to Woodstock, and I saw a little town on the map called Willow, which is nothing more than a crossroads. And when I put Willow in the map, it said turn left on Wagner Road, and I'm like, all right, that's it. It's meant to be. So we literally took a road called Wagner Road, which brought us here to Willow. And then I didn't have a plan at that point. I'm just like, okay, we're in Willow, now what? And we get to this dead end, and it's like trail, forest reserve this way. So I'm like, this is meant to be. So we come up the road here, and we are in a forest reserve. I'm gonna do my homework on it, and I'll write up a whole description on this particular forest, managed by the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. And I think the goal here is not necessarily to showcase one particular forest, but to kind of highlight a whole state and the whole story here. So I love that New York's tree is the sugar maple. I grew up making maple syrup in Pennsylvania, and we didn't have too many sugar maples on the mountain I grew up on, so we mostly had to use red maple, but sugar maple's the desired one. It has more sugar than any other species of maple. But it's also some other things I'm real passionate about. It's used to make skateboards. It's used to make baseball bats. It's used to make basketball court floors. It's used to make bowling alleys. So I was on the high school basketball team, and I was on the high school bowling team. And I still skateboard to this day, and I'm an avid baseball fan. I played baseball a little bit in high school and then intramural in college, and I love how this tree just keeps coming back to the things in my life I'm interested in. The forest here in New York, I'm seeing a lot of challenges that remind me of Pennsylvania. So below me, we got some American beech trees, and the Beech Leaf Disease is hitting this area just as hard as it is back home. There's not a whole lot we know about it. It's been connected to a nematode, which is non-native. I don't remember if it's European or Asian. And it kind of wrecks the tree's ability to photosynthesize. And it's still unclear how this story is going to end, but if our forest history has taught us anything, it's not going to end well for the beech tree. There aren't too many success stories. Once a non-native insect or fungus or plant or whatever is brought to the United States and is found to be detrimental to native species, I can't even think of one example of a story that ended well. Whether it's the spongy moth or whatever it may be, we pump millions of dollars into fighting these problems after they're here, and I can't even think of one example to tell my high school students of a time we've been successful. So, you know, I want to be realistic. We probably aren't going to eradicate the thing that is causing beech leaf disease. I think at this point it's about management and containment, and those are fancy words for dealing with potential extinction. So not always the greatest news when talking about our forest. I mean, in general, there's so much to celebrate, but we also need to stay vigilant about the threats that face our forest. Please don't just take a backseat approach to like, oh, well, the forests are fine. I'm sure there's people taking care of that. We in the United States all have to play a role in protecting our forest and maintaining a sustainable supply of wood from these native species. So this is such a wonderful tree that gives so much to us, and that can only be done under proper management and healthy forests like this. So everyone needs to get involved, whether you're a landowner or not. Just stay involved with the conversation about how best to manage our forests so that this continues to be. All right, I think I'm gonna come down and gear up to head to a concert tonight. My wife and I are going to Levon Helms's barn. I've heard of this place my whole life, and it's a great place to hear live music. Tonight we're gonna go hear Nick Lowe and Los Straight Jackets. Cool name for a band, isn't it? And I never got to see Levon perform here, but I'm told for years he would, as regularly as possible, he would appear on stage in his barn with guest musicians. So he'd have people performing at his barn, and then he would join them on stage, and I can't imagine. I did get to see Levon. I saw him with the band at the Philadelphia Folk Festival in 1990. I think it was 4. It could have been 1995, but... All right, finally coming down. Whoa. Thank you, New York. My wife thought we were going away on a vacation this weekend, and then she saw me load up the climbing gear. And I was busted. It's still a vacation, but a vacation with a pit stop in the forest on Van Wagner Road in the little village of Willow, New York. Great forest. Give you a little taste of the woods as we exit. This hemlock maybe doesn't look the healthiest, but some of the hemlocks I saw earlier today took me back to my childhood in the 1980s when they all looked healthy and thick. And so it's nice to see that there's places where the hemlock trees are still thriving. The woolly adelgid and the hemlock scale are two non-native insects that have just decimated hemlocks in other parts of the Appalachians, especially in central Pennsylvania where I live. Saw a lot of white pine mortality on my rambles through this forest this weekend. A lot of white pine in this country, a lot of white pine. In fact, when we stopped at Big Pink, where Bob Dylan and the band lived for some time, it looks like historically most of the trees around the property were white pine. And today, the majority of those white pines were dead or dying with brown needles on them. Just a really cool cavity tree here. Check this out. This is a sugar maple. And it's got some nice decay in there. Not good for lumber, but wonderful for wildlife. All right, we're gonna hop back on Van Wagner Road and go get cleaned up and head out to Levon Helms' barn. Thank you, New York, for a thriving artistic community in this area. It makes it a place I want to visit. You're a red-tailed hawk. Ready to go?
Is that on?
Yeah. You can see the contour of the field, kind of everything points down to the original stage, I think was down there. All right, right on the other side of these fairly recent trees, down over the hill was the location of the stage for the Woodstock Festival in 1969. And so I was just trying to find a stand of trees that I think are old enough that they would have been here at the time of the festival, because all of these are pretty young, under 50 years. But there's a cool hedgerow right here with some pretty substantial trees, and we got a sugar maple. State tree of New York. So there we are. State tree of New York at the, probably one of the closest trees to where the stage was. So that's pretty cool. Somebody decorated this one with lights. Those crazy hippies, they're decorating everything. And I don't know how historic this wall is here, but it kind of has the vibe of been here a long time. So pretty neat.